So I will put it in two categories. First, we know that the SSLT had a language component and a cross-culture component. And so what we did with the language component is we did not only work with the sectors to build the inventory, but we also brought the temporary LCFs on board to train them and to give them an understanding of what it means. And they incorporated it into session plans. And so on the code, we had SSLT. And during that time, we used it to actually bring up the vocabulary which was in the inventory. Whilst, as people have mentioned, on the field work, we just did what was on the field work. One thing I also have to say is that I mean, I've been lucky to have two permanent LCFs, Ernestina and John, and we put ourselves into, I would say, special areas. I work with education, and Estina worked with health, and John worked with the ag team. And so we did have some, I would say, specialists, SSLT persons in each category. And when the new LCFs came through, we also distributed them along. So if you're teaching a language in health, you work with Ernestina, although I was overseeing all these activities. So that was one area that we did. The other one with language was that we developed what we call the supplementary reader. The supplementary reader was developed during the COVID period, but we were looking forward to how we could incorporate technical language. And so it's stories based on all the competencies. That is, so these are stories at intermediate. Now it begins at intermediate mid level, and I'll say novice high. And then as we move high, the gears high into language, it moves from intermediate novice to intermediate mid and intermediate high. Now, we also incorporated stories on the various sectors. So for instance, on health, there will be a story about a volunteer talking about what they do at the clinic in their community. And we incorporate malaria and nutrition into the story. And the story is in the target languages. And it has key expressions in English that are translated into the target languages. And then we talk about education, and we talk about a teacher who is talking about his day at school, and a student who talks about her day at school. And then we have a farmer, because we also look at our ag sector, and the farmer talks about what they do. So this supplementary reader was also incorporated along the line. And the other thing that we did was, when volunteers are going to site, we give them what we call the site visit training directed activity, TDA. Now, for each sector, we give them selected vocabularies, expressions, and sentences, and we ask them to work with their counterparts, landlords, or any other community member during the 4-day visit to translate these expressions into the target language of their community. What we did was to extend learning sector-specific language from us staff towards host country nationals, so that when they go to site, they're able to continue that process, because the bigger chunk of SSLT we know is going to happen at site, where they're actually learning more vocabulary as they progress. So this is what we did at the language front to ensure that we're able to implement the SSLT. Now, these TDAs were also, I would say, graded. And so we got to see what they did. And when we did have the SSLT sessions too, we also gave them the opportunity to form sentences with that. Then let's talk about how we implement the cross-cultural aspect. So the cultural nodes that we do have already was doing a lot good, but Ghana moved a step forward. We standardized cultural nodes. What we did was we wrote cultural nodes to cover all the competencies, and we put them online on Learning Space. We made it self-directed and self-grading. And so we had knowledge check when you have finished every page. Say if you're talking about cultural nodes on self-introduction, after you read the first page, there will be some few questions to check your understanding of what you read. And then we had something that we called the action step. The action step actually directed, targeted certain specific cultural components that we wanted the PCTs to be able to identify as they prepare to go to site, which works in line with the various specialized vocabulary and then the activity tags. And so these were put into case study scenarios, and then they will answer the questions and debrief with the ILCF. The other aspect is that we also made because we make it online, they have a lifetime access to it whilst they are at site. So if they have any challenge on something, the only thing that they need to do is make a reference to it. I'll also say that one aspect that we did with the cross-culture aspect of learning space was also we created a discussion forum on learning space where each week we made them share their cross-culture experiences, and there was a staff on board to try and kind of debrief with them somehow so that they do understand some of these cultural intricacies. So this is what we did. Our challenges, because we use the internet, connectivity was one of the challenges that we faced working with that. Also, we realized that we needed more staff commitment because we needed a staff member working around the clock to be able to give real-time support to them whilst they in the forums and other things. And I would say that our side visit TDA also had a few challenges, but then going forward, we will know how to make adjustment to that. So that has been our success story implementing SSLT. Thank you.